Now today I've dug out my old Sony FH7 Mark II again. Haven't really done anything else with this. The tape deck's still broken. The rest of it's running okay. But I was recently given the opportunity to actually upgrade this to an FH7 Mark III. So today we're going to upgrade this one, and it cost me a whole $6.60 on top of the $11 I already paid for this thing. I have managed to sell the brackets off the end of these units and the handle, so I sold that to a guy because he had a better system than this one. So now the speakers I can't actually attach to this unit and all the pieces are loose. But that's about all that's happened with this thing. But I was looking in the same shop I bought this from and came across with the way to upgrade it, because supposedly according to the internet there's not a lot of difference between a Mark II and a Mark III, and I think there's a similar difference with the Mark I, and it has absolutely nothing to do with this middle bit other than what they've printed on the front of it. I've currently got this auxiliary CD input with a 6.5mm stereo plug, which I've adapted to a 3.5mm because that's all I had. And then I've done a bit of a dodgy job cutting that cable and soldering a couple of panel mount RCA sockets on it, so I can get it to RCA to go to a CD player. So I'll maybe have a quick listen to this and may get a copyright strike, but we'll see how we go. That's what it sounds like with the old speakers it came with. These are APM 078s. Tweeter in that one's rather beaten up, and probably even more so since I've had it lying around here and shoved under the bench and stuff. But that was one of the other original problems with this, was the grill's broken off that and missing. So I'm missing a grill and the door parts. I do have the frame of the door shoved in the back of the tape player there. But now, for the big job to actually convert it over, we'll just turn the power off, is always the best thing if you're going to touch anything with the speakers. And it's simply a case of disconnecting that, and bringing in these three-way APM 058s. These ones actually have a different bracket on them, so I'm not sure what they came off. Possibly the, I think it's an FH5 these were used on as well. But that's all there is to it. It's basically they changed the speakers, and I believe the Mark I had something different again with the speakers there, but not a major difference. So that's all we've got to do, unplug one pair of speakers and plug another one in. So these are three-way. They've got this three-way super wide, they call it, with these tweeters angled out like that. To be honest, I actually think the old ones actually sound slightly better in the highs than this one, but we'll have a quick listen. And that's about it. We'll have a quick look. One of these, probably why they were so cheap, is one of them's got a little bit of damage to the grill, I think. Similar to the other one that's missing the grill, so someone's got a bit of tape on here. And I think some of the pins are broken off, or maybe all were broken and someone's repaired a couple. So yeah, someone's glued something up here, possibly the originals, but they've got screws stuck in the end. Bottom ones are busted off. They look to have a slightly bigger woofer, so we can measure that. I think the actual silver bit looks larger. And then there's just we're shorting out the amp. A couple of little tweeters in here. So they're only round tweeters. Lots of cobwebs as well. So that one's very similar to the one in the other speaker by the look of it. It's just got 2 screws instead of 4. 6 ohms, 25 watt maximum. And this is just a little tiny one, which is 8 ohms, 3 watts, Japan. No obvious capacitors there, but they might be further in here. Looks like we've got, don't know whether someone's just shoved that in there, probably has, or whether that's part of it, maybe to stop it rattling there. Might measure the diagonal here. Okay, what do we got? I guess from the metal to the metal, about 145 millimeters that is. Let's have a look at the silver part diagonally. Around 95, or a side of about 70. It's still 145 odd. Now maybe it's actually more black stuff on here. It's very close, but foam to foam. I think they've just got more of this black foam stuff, so it's just got glue around it. That's got a few millimeters of the foam, so yeah, still 95 diagonal, and I guess we'll be about 70, very close if not the same. So that's just got more black surround stuff glued to the actual foil on the front. And yeah, these tweeters I'd say are probably about the same diameter. This one could even be slightly bigger, that one's obviously smaller. And that's about it. That's about all the differences in these speakers in any obvious way. We've got a couple of bass ports down there, same thing here. I guess I could even have a look and see what this woofer is. May even have the same type number or something, or what the rating is, and I guess what else is inside this box. Still plugged in, aren't we? So that's the woofer, and it doesn't say much on it at all. 5D405 maybe. Oh, here we are. We've got a Sony label. Sony 070A008 892720900. Impedance 4 ohms, 25 watts max, made in Japan. We do have a capacitor on the back panel, on the terminal block to feed the 2 tweeters. There is a bit of dampening fiberglass material up around the top and down the, oh, it's not on the back, just a horseshoe from about here on the side, up across and back down to the other side. So not a lot of that in there, probably no need for it. But they are still very good sounding speakers for the size of them. Excellent treble on them. And mids, probably not so great in the bass department, but give it for a smaller speaker, you can't complain. But I think you'll find if you do really crank this up, they can pump out the bass as well. And I mean, for $6, they're worth buying this as a pair of shelf speakers, really. Even though this one's a little bit damaged, at least the grill's with this one, and not missing like on the other one. That's about the only other difference. So that's a bit of an odd. So obviously these grills aren't made to be user removable. On the older ones, you could pull them off, and the speaker was, you know, obviously just bare wood underneath, so they're not made, and bare metal on the tweeter and stuff, so they're not made to be viewed with the grills removed. But at least you could take them off if you wanted to. Whereas this one, you've actually got to unplug the tweeters, so it's not quite as user friendly. And yeah, I don't know why they would really make the grills come off at all. I guess at least people could service them if they ever had to. I guess the other thing I was just going to quickly check before I put them together. Although they're soldered across each other, but I can disconnect them. I'll just make sure these tweeters are definitely in working order. At least as far as sounded like they were going, but measure the resistance of the voice coils. I probably should do the same on the other one, because if anything's going to be blown in these things, it'll be the tweeters. Five ohms on the big one, 5 ohms on the little one. Of course, that's not their actual impedance, it's just their resistance. Technically different things, but they usually measure somewhere around the same area. I think both of those were rated at 6 ohms and they come up around the 5.3 or something. Oh, the other one was 8 ohms, so it should have been a bit higher probably, but at least it's got a voice coil intact there. So probably if you crank this up loud, you'll now be getting a bit of rattling out of this grill potentially, and someone's actually bent the, something I probably should have looked at. I don't think you can really fix, I wonder how that comes off. Just out of interest, can you fix the dent in it? They're probably glued in there somehow. I'm assuming they're sort of pushed in and glued in. Yeah, got a little bent over edge on them because I can see where that bit's sticking out now. So this speaker's obviously been dropped, hit something, bent the grills. You possibly could poke something diagonally through the holes on the front here and into that to push it out a bit, but it's probably going to make a bit of a messy job. Might even see if I can maybe just bashing it on the bench is enough. Yeah, I've bent that back a bit. Oh, I bent it with my finger a bit. Well, the other thing would be to hook something under it and pull it upwards. That's actually not too bad at the bottom now. It's far from mint condition, but if I could get a small hook. Problem is getting a bit of wire that's stiff enough. Might even have to hook down and pull back up with something like a paper clip. And you could probably bend, if I could bend this end bit, it would probably pull the rest with it. Actually, even these needle node pliers, I wonder, are they fine enough? Not quite. The other thing is to get something underneath this bit, but then you risk bending it up the other way. There's not really a hole I can use for from the tweeter. I don't think it's too much. Oh, maybe. It's a fair angle, but if we take both tweeters off, you might be able to get in there with something. Probably won't have to have a look at these while I've got the opportunity. Let's do a full tear down on this thing. Okay, let's compare that to that tweeter. Yeah, about the same size. Probably pretty much the same thing, same cone and dust cap and stuff. That one is sort of a bit torn around the edges or crunched around the edges. So probably not sounding the best. And that's our little tiny 3D or spatial or whatever tweeter. Oh, there's a grill under here, so that sort of ruins that idea. Does that come off? I think it's glued on. Oh, the other thing would be to peel this whole red piece off. No, I don't think I can really get any access, and it was going to be a very tight fit anyway. So it would have just, I mean, given the condition of this thing, I don't think it matters too much if I, oops, oh yeah, with a bit of work it came off easy as anything anyway. I don't think it really would matter even if I poked holes in that stuff, so it's only glued on. I might be able to even get like a big Phillips screwdriver in there, and it's not quite in the right spot though. Get a smaller driver in there. Yeah, I'm not going to be pushing quite where I want to. A little risky doing this, it's going up slowly, but I'm going to probably be pushing it up where the actual screwdriver is pushing into it and making another little bulge there. Oh, the problem is the risk that it's going to suddenly go and you're going to do more damage, push it out the other way or something, but oh, it's better than it was. Just a shame I can't get right down the end there. But let's push some of the worst of it out. Not a big deal. Where'd I put that little bit of cloth? I think I'll just shove that back in there for now. No, it's not going to stay there, is it? The tweeter doesn't actually push onto it. I'm not sure if the other one, I guess I should take the other one off, see if it's got this bit of stuff there. Oh, yeah, it does. So that is normal to have a bit of foam, not quite as squashed as that though. But that is part of it from the factory. Bit of a fiddly idea that. And yeah, well, it looks a bit better than it did. I might just put that tape back on there for the minute, even though it's not that sticky anymore. And yeah, the other one's basically the same inside by the look of it. But yeah, it's got all the 4 clips, or little mounting post things there. So I wonder if these ones are the same, if I can pull one of those out. Yeah, basically the same thing, so I could almost fix the bottom to them that with a couple of the broken pieces off this one. Or you could find something of a similar diameter, I guess. But I do like the idea of actually pinching a couple of ones out of that speaker and doing it that way. Oh, one thing I didn't do is check the tweeters. I better check the tweeters on that one, I guess, if I'm coming this far. Oh, it's actually got the black on the upper. I thought that one had it on the other way around, but oh, they're probably facing the opposite ways, I guess. Let's remove. Yeah, I think the black was on the bottom on the other one. Tweeter has 5.3 ohms again. Well, the little tweeter, I should say. They're both tweeters. And the other one 5.0. So they should be alright. There's a little bit of corrosion on a couple of things here. So probably haven't had the nicest life. But yeah, whether these came off an FH5 or something, I'm not sure, because they've definitely got different brackets to the FH7. There's no way that's going to mount on an FH7, so unless maybe there's another Sony unit, or maybe it is just like I say, the FH5 has a completely different bracket on the end holding all the components together. Maybe someone else knows. I don't think I've ever seen an FH5. The FH7 seems to be about the only one you see around here, so they may not have sold the other models locally. Get rid of that price tag. And oh, we're still on the main power. Just saw the cone move a bit when I applied power. There's a bit of difference between the speakers, but maybe just that angle bit. They do look a bit nicer, a bit more modern maybe. Well, they've actually got a couple of silver bits down the bottom there for the bass ports. This silver area around the woofer's a bit bigger. Nice little curved bits around the woofer. And yeah, they've broken up the top bit. You can see that red stuff in there. So I guess that may be the other reason they had the white grill cloth stuff in there, and the red pieces that glue it on. That gives you a little bit of red around that. So they do look quite a bit nicer than the APM 078s, these 058s. And yeah, they've just got the angled tweeter, which I don't think does a real lot. I actually suspect that the tweeter sounds slightly better than those ones, but it shouldn't really, but it's possible that it does. So you can see with a bit of light on the front there, they're a bit different looking. and yeah, a bit more modern. So I think that's all they did, probably just like car manufacturers do. They put out a model and then they give it a little facelift, maybe with a couple of little extra features, and then try and sell that to the next people, or maybe the previous people might want to upgrade. So now it looks like some weird giant boom box, which kind of is what it is. Not so good without the handle on it, but unfortunately I sold that, so you could make some great big monster beast out of it. Shame it doesn't have 4 speaker outputs. That'd make a hell of a machine like that. We'll have one last listen to it.